Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the 6th in our series of Make Your Mark webinars. As hopefully many of you will know, we are, the Planet Mark, are a sustainability certification with a unique 3-step process, and we really focus on getting the very best out of people, technology and nature. In today's webinar, we will be talking about the power of individual action. So we'll look at how organisations can unlock this potential, this passion and the knowledge already held by the people within your organisation to drive real change. We're delighted to be joined by our guest speakers today. So we'll be joined by Hermione Taylor, co-founder and director at Do Nation, Dr. Paula Owen, founder and CEO at Eco Action Games, and Joe Comotto, director of search experience at Incubeta, who are one of our amazing Planet Mark holders. I'm just going to hand over to them to say hello, give you a little wave, turn their cameras on, and just give you a little bit of a friendly introduction. So if we start with Hermione, and then we'll hear from Paula and then Joe before we get stuck into the webinar.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Thanks, everyone. So do you mind if you just give a quick introduction? So if we start with Hermione and then we'll hear from Paula, sorry, and then Joe. So just a little introduction, say who you are and what you'll be talking about today.
So I'm Hermione, I run Do Nation, which I'm going to be talking about that, but also kind of how we tackle behaviour change, some of the challenges and of tackling behaviour change at scale. Thanks,
Hermione. And then Paula?
Hi there, I'm Paula and I run a environmental educational games company which looks at the theory of gamification to help engage and change behaviours at home and in the workplace.
Thanks, Paula. And then Joe?
Hi, good morning everyone, I'm Joe, I'm the Director of Search Experience at Incubeta and part of the Sustainability Committee at the organisation. And I'm going to be talking to you today a little bit about how we got our sustainability certification up off the ground and what we've been doing to drive engagement.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Really looking forward to hearing more in a minute. But before we get stuck into the content of the webinar, just a little bit of housekeeping. So you'll have joined on mute and with your cameras off. No worries, all good. And if you have any questions and want to say hello, please do pop those in the chat. There should be an icon at the bottom, a little chat icon where you can pop any hellos. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A icon. So if you pop any questions in there, you'll also have the opportunity to upvote. So if you see anybody asking questions that you also really want to know the answer to, if you upvote on those questions, they'll get priority when we come to the Q&A at the end. So please do pop any questions into the Q&A box and upvote on the ones that you're interested to know the answers to. Just a quick run through of the agenda. We've got a really full agenda today, so I'll spend a few minutes doing some scene setting and then we'll hand over and talk to Hermione and Paula, our experts. Hermione's going to talk to us about why it's so important to engage individuals in positive environmental action, and Paula is going to give us a demonstration through Eco Action Games of one of the ways this can be done. And then we'll talk to Joe, who'll showcase some of the amazing work they've been doing at Incubeta to get employees engaged in sustainability. And then we'll have time at the end for a Q&A with everybody. So just around that scene setting and to give some context to the conversation. So we are in the decade of action. So this is a term coined by the UN, but it's been adopted by us at the Planet Mark and many others. So the decade of action is 2020 to 2030. And these next 10 years are critical if we're to avoid irrevocable changes to the planet and our lives because of the climate crisis. And that's really why our actions matter so much. So as Cristina Figueres, the former UN Executive Secretary for Climate Change, says, we need both systemic transformation and individual behavioural changes. One without the other will not get us to the necessary scale of change at the necessary pace. So she puts really nicely that power of individual action. Another really good example of this is the plastic revolution. So for those of you that know the Blue Planet programme, you'll know that it was a television programme that started off in the UK and spoke about single-use plastic and the problem of plastic pollution for just a few minutes in the context of those hour-long programmes. But it went on to spark real rage and I suppose passion from the people who watched it about the problem of plastic in our oceans, and went on to spark the global plastic revolution. So really starting to see how the power of individual action to protest, then leading to petition and legislation, can have a really big impact. And there are lots of examples of the power of individual choices. I've just selected this one example about the emissions associated with one return transatlantic flight, emitting the same amount of carbon as 13 years of a family's electricity emissions combined. So I'll just let that sink in for a few seconds, but also you might be surprised to know that only 80% of the world's population has ever set foot on a plane. And yet, of course, everybody pays the price of those emissions associated with that flight. So that's just something, an interesting fact that I learned recently, and it feels quite relevant given that in recent months we might have learned of the power of video conferencing and Zoom and all those sorts of things to avoid business related travel, and quite apt as we've all been spending so much time at home recently. So that's just one example, and I'm actually now going to talk to Hermione about Do Nation's work on behaviour change and how best to inspire, empower and engage employees in sustainability issues to drive truly effective change. So Hermione, are you still there?
Hey, yeah, I'm still here.
Hello, hi. So we're going to put a few questions to Hermione, and she's going to give us some lovely answers. But I suppose we should start off with who and what is Do Nation, Hermione, and how is it tackling behaviour change?
Yeah, so hello again. Do Nation is all about encouraging behaviour change, climate action, healthy, sustainable, healthy, environmentally friendly habits. That's what we're all about through and through. We do this through an online platform where anyone can either make a pledge or run a campaign to raise pledges. And the pledges are to do simple things like taking one less flight or reducing your home energy use, cycling to work, wasting less food. We've actually added 2 new actions this week, which I haven't announced yet, so you're the first to hear of them. One around reducing your digital carbon footprint, and another around volunteering, which has obviously got many broader benefits. We mainly work, people running campaigns to raise pledges tend to be organisations engaging employees, running pledge challenges internally. So we've worked with clients like Innocent Drinks, Siemens, Network Rail. This week, HelloFresh signed up, which is great, helping them engage employees. And been doing it in one form or another for nearly 10 years, well, for 10 years now, over 10 years, which is slightly terrifying. It's definitely got a lot busier in the last year or two, even the last month or two, definitely becoming a more and more hot topic, which is good at last.
Always a good sign. And why do you think that behaviour change is so important?
Well, I suppose to go back kind of to the beginning of when I discovered its importance personally. So 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I was studying a master's in environmental technology policy. And I read a paper by DEFRA that highlighted that 42% of the UK's carbon emissions are a result of individuals' actions, both at home and in personal travel. 42% it's not far off half of our country's emissions are in our control as individuals today, right now. And whilst I was studying, looking to get into the policy and business side, I realised that actually, wow, that's really empowering, that we can all have a meaningful impact today through our actions. So that's what got me hooked. Truth being said, though, if I was given £1 million to invest in fighting climate change and all I cared about was carbon emissions, behaviour change is not what I put it in. You could save a lot more carbon through technological innovation, I would say. but the thing that gets me excited by behavior change is the fact that it's not just about carbon, it's about, there's so many broader benefits around health and well-being, finance, community, air pollution, biodiversity, all sorts of benefits come to play around different actions, which is what makes them a no-brainer for individuals who often don't care about climate change enough to take action purely for that purpose. So behaviour change I'm excited by because it gets people interested by these broader benefits. It has these broader benefits which themselves are good, but it also provides a hook to get people in. And so when they start taking an action, be it cycling to work because it's going to save them time and make them improve their health, they then realise they're doing something that's also good for the climate, and then they then start to understand the opportunities and challenges around climate action and engage in those issues in a way that they might not otherwise have done. And that is the bit that unlocks potential systemic change when more people are on board with the issue.
Yeah,
so longer answer than I meant, sorry. But that's why I care about behaviour change.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And when I started working in sustainability, all the double benefits of all the actions that you take are really what helps it to be an easy transition. And you kind of answered this a little bit already, but have you seen some of that in your own work? So some of those double benefits?
Yeah, through and through. So through Donation, the fact that it's an online platform and we track everyone's kind of success through their pledges, we get solid data on this backing up. Year after year, we produce an impact report, and our latest one showed that, so I guess the first stat, few stats to throw at you, but 71% of our users were motivated to pledge by wanting to have an impact on sustainability and climate change, which is the most common response in terms of what people's motivation are. But actually that means that 29% of people were not motivated by taking climate action. It was often supporting their team, the program, their friend, or improve, like health benefits, etc., that motivated them. But 62% improve their well-being, 45% save money. That these other benefits are experienced quite clearly. And actually, 8 out of 10 users say that their interest and awareness around sustainability has increased as a result of it. So I think that data kind of backs up the theory I said earlier about broader benefits get people involved in sustainability, and then it helps to increase their awareness and interest. The bit to me that is then like really exciting is that on average each person talks to 5 to 6 others about their action, their pledge as a result. And it's those conversations that happen that can, both within workplaces but also within broader society, that can really unlock bigger change. And yeah. Would it help to share a story for those that aren't so engaged in the numbers? Or
I mean, I always love a story. I think a story is a great illustration. If you want to share a story, Hermione, that'd be great.
So just as with behaviour change, some people are motivated by numbers, some by stories. A story to illustrate those points. One of my favourite ones from one of our active users is a girl called Pip, who years ago, back in 2013, one of her friends, colleague on her master's course, was running a marathon and asking people to support him through donation with a pledge. Instead of asking for money, he asked for action. She was quite an environmentally motivated person anyway, but was really motivated to support him in particular with a pledge because she actually quite fancied him. And so she pledged to take shorter showers, which, she enjoyed. Was reminded every time she got into the shower to take a shorter shower in support of Shem. She stuck to that habit so much so that she even sent us a photo of her in the shower. A decent one. She then went on to raise pledges herself when she ran a marathon later the following year. But when she graduated and went into work, she thought, look, this was a really impactful thing. It got me engaged in action. I want to encourage my colleagues to do the same, and ran a campaign in her workplace encouraging all of her colleagues to make pledges. I should add, by this stage, she got together with Shem, who should originally been pledging to support. So love came from it as well. She then inspired, like she ran this program within the workplace. They've run several campaigns engaging lots of colleagues in action. So she's become a real leader in sustainability as well as just an actor. And actually, she helped us to write those 2 new actions as a volunteer over the last month around digital diet and volunteering. So she went from taking action for a completely non-climate related reason to becoming an advocate for action, and now like a massive ambassador, which is a really cool journey to see.
Yeah, I love a story. Also, it's good to see that there are all those multiple motivations for taking different behaviours in the first place, but then, you know, what they can lead to is totally, the scale of that change is so much more than you ever would have thought.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hermione. And then the last question, we spoke about some of the amazing things that can be achieved through individual behaviour change and some of the positive aspects of it. But why do you think it's so difficult to achieve and kind of get the ball rolling in the first place?
Well, I would say it is difficult to achieve when you look at it at scale, when you're looking at kind of all actions and all people. When you break it down into units of individual actions, individual people, then and the blockers and motivations it all becomes quite intuitive. If you're looking at, right, I want to encourage these people to cycle, or I want to encourage these people to switch energy, it becomes a lot simpler. Those units that you need to break it down into come down to like the individual actions. Are you talking about cycling or using up leftovers or switching pension provider, etc.? The different people. Some people are motivated by financial benefits, others by environmental benefits, others by social, by looking like status and doing the right thing. Different messaging as well, which I think Paula's going to talk about, motivates different people. So, and one person might be motivated by different things depending on the action. You know, they might be very motivated by status when it comes to sustainable fashion, but money when it comes to home energy use. So it is really complicated when you then try and do it at scale across all actions and all kind of population types, which is exactly what we're trying to do. So I must be a complete nutter. But I suppose, so the way we've gone about that, and it is what's needed, so ultimately it's got to be done, that challenge, and the way we've gone about it is designing the content online to appeal to different motivations. There's all sorts of content there, all sorts of actions, but ultimately it's down to the person running a campaign on the ground, within the workplace, within their community, to tailor the messaging, to effectively tailor the communications and delivery to their audience, and the focus of the actions that they're looking to encourage within their workplace at that time. Thanks to digital tools, it's possible for us to help that, and we'll get more and clever over time. With that is the goal. Helping to kind of appeal to their individuals' initial motivations, and then tailor the messaging so that they can align that to environmental ones over time and really take them on a journey beyond just the initial action towards greater change is our ultimate goal. Encourage more people to go on journeys like Pip's.
Absolutely. And I think, as you've mentioned already, there's lots of different levers to get there. And
more.
I think that probably leads us really nicely into Paula, our next speaker. I don't know, do you agree, Hermione? I think it probably leaves us in a really nice...
Paula's got another great lever used on the ground to engage people, so let's...
Yeah, amazing. Thanks so much, Hermione. And we, if you pop your questions in the Q&A icon box, we can get to those at the end, and Hermione will come back to answer some of those as well if you have any. So thanks, Hermione, for now. Hi, Paula.
Hi.
So Paula, as we've introduced, is the founder and CEO at EQ Action Games, and she's going to talk to us more about one of those levers, and she will do a much better introduction than I can. So I'm going to stop talking and hand over to Paula.
Okay, thank you, Kendall. Could I get the first slide? Okay, good morning again, everybody, and thanks to Hermione for the fantastic scene setting and reasons why it's so important, reasons why we can't fail in in our kind of challenges to get everybody doing something. So I've been in the environmental sector longer than I will admit online, and I've spent a lot of my career looking at the knotty issue of trying to get folk to change their ways, to shred those unsustainable habits and behaviours they've picked up over the years and changing them into more sustainable and low impact versions of those habits. And about a decade ago, but at the same time as Hermione was looking at the donation and the online approach to things, I started looking at which was at the time a new technique and theory of gamification. Now, I haven't time to go into what that is, but I'm hoping nowadays, a decade on, people have kind of heard of it, even if they're not quite sure what it means. And I was looking into the idea of whether gamification could be used in the sustainability sector, in the environmental sector, to help us change people's ways. At the time, it was being used successfully in health and well-being and the financial sectors to help people manage their money better. So I just thought, let's experiment with a different approach to behaviour change. And as a consequence of that, I created it's an offshoot company really, Eco Action Games. My other company is Green Gumption, that's more a kind of a consultancy agency, but I thought it was going pretty well at the time, so I thought I'd set up a company devoted to this so I could explore it more. May I have the next slide, please? So, why play with a gamified approach to education and behavioural change? I haven't time to go into this in detail. I could talk to this at length, but I've summarised some of the benefits of what I call game-centric approach to education rather than gamification. So gamified, because they're words I don't like. So some of the benefits to a game-centric approach are the following. So there's an alternative to the gloom and doom approach to sustainability, education, engagement, and and behavioural change. In my experience at the time, an issue with all environmental communications and the strategies we used was they tended to dwell on gloom and doom rather than the positive. Now, this works for some and can work over short periods of time, but it kind of tends to put the majority of people off, switches them off, and the negative messaging tends to lose its potency over the long term. So a game-centric approach to this completely reverses it, because it's quite positive. It's kind of fun, brings out people's competitive spirit, and it's not focusing on the gloom and doom and the pessimism. The second benefit I found was that it was relatively straightforward to gamify, well, I've used that word, the environmental issues we face today, because among other reasons, as Hermione has demonstrated with her answers, there's a lot of numbers involved. There's a lot of facts, figures, and numbers, and we can use those in a positive, engaging way to get messages across about kind of the challenges we face, rather than bringing them across in a boring spreadsheet or reams and reams of PowerPoint slides, which don't really engage people that much. They get kind of number blind. But a kind of a game approach to this helps people understand and retain that information. A next important benefit is it makes a scary subject less intimidating. So another issue with environmental problems, especially the size and magnitude of climate change, is that they can appear intimidating and too large for any one person to grapple with. So they turn away, they don't want to know. It's for the state, it's for the government, it's for the country to deal with, not me. The games we've created help people understand that the impact of individual action at home or at work or wherever you are can make a difference. And so it helps to remove that feeling of helplessness in amongst the enormity of the crisis we face. So the other thing I was keen on doing is to move away from guilt and fear tactics. Now, this is interesting because I was brought up a Catholic, so I know very well how effective guilt can be to motivate behaviours. But I soon realised that guilt helps some people change their behaviour, but for the majority, no, it doesn't. It turns people off. So we wanted to move away from that and making changes more positive and life affirming, as Hermione was talking about. There are tons of co-benefits to taking action. So that is what I wanted to explore as well. So basically, my hypothesis through all of this was people may remember what they've learned better if they've had fun learning it. And that's what I wanted to test out through this new approach to behavioural change. Next slide, please. Okay, I haven't got time to go through this at all, but what I'm going to do is just talk you. So this is something we've developed over the years of running our games and our educational courses with a games-led approach. And I've called it the 4 E's game theory for behavioural change. So very quickly, if you were thinking of adding some kind of gamified approach to your education and behavioural change strategies at the workplace, these are the 4 things you should keep in mind while you're developing it. So the first thing with a fun and games educational approach is it must entertain. I mean, it's not the starting point. So you must ensure whatever you're immersing your staff in is entertaining to them, and people will want to be part of. You can't have a ton of dry, boring slides with lots of figures and numbers on and a preachy vibe to the campaign. So once you've got them interested with an entertaining approach, the next stage is you've got to have an idea that's engaging and suitable for your defined audience and something they can relate to. So you have to kind of entertain them and engage them, but then the really important bit is the education side. So it's great, it's fun, it's competitive, people are keen to be part of it, but within that approach you have to have a strong educational element. However cleverly and well disguised it is, it has to be there, otherwise you are just entertaining them. You're not doing much to push the envelope in terms of changing their behaviours. And the final part of this theory is whatever you do, it has to be embedded in some way. And Hermione's story about Pip is a really good example of that. Pip really embedded that one behaviour change back in the day when she was a student, and that led on to other things. So there has to be some lasting, there has to be a legacy to what you're doing to within your campaign. So I think that's all I can say on this slide. So next slide, please. So this is just quickly the the range of environmental areas that we have covered through the games approach. So I'll just let you take that in. I won't talk through them. But needless to say, over the time we've had in lockdown, we've managed to add a few more to that topic list. So now we're covering transport and travel. We've got carbon footprint of food covered, and now we've got the water footprint of food as well. So if they were interested in areas you were interested in, we have those as well. But now we think we've covered pretty much all of environmental sustainability. And what we're working on currently is a climate emergency themed card game, which kind of covers all areas really. So these are quite segmented in terms of what they're covering, but we've got this climate emergency game sort of in development, which hopefully gives everybody a good indication of what is needed to be done to tackle the climate emergency. Okay, next slide, please. So what we're going to do today is play one of our games. So this is one of our few. So Hermione's approach is very much online. hers is an online platform. My approach over the years has been very much offline. I've loved to get people together in social situations to play these games and watch in real time the learning and the kind of the conversation, and hear the conversations that are triggered by playing the games, because the games are supposed to be the conversation starter. But I've over the years realized that I needed to have an online offering as well, because although I truly love kind of offline, especially within lockdown, I'm obviously coming round to the advantages of online tools. So this higher lower game that we're going to be playing in a few minutes is a version of our offline game that we called Play Your Eco Cards Right. Now, some listeners of a certain vintage may remember Play Your Cards Right, a very popular quiz show of the 80s and 90s. Now, what we've done with this is just taken the game dynamic and used it to present a lot of quite numerical information to people in a way that we really believe gets them to understand the relative and kind of impact they can have if they undertake the action that the well, in this case, carbon saving relates to. And so what we'll do is we'll go to the game and then I'll explain how we're going to play. So could I get the next slide, please? So what we're going to do is I'm going to, in a minute, share my screen with you, and we will be playing live over the internet. So let's hope that technology doesn't fail us. So first thing to say is, you as the audience, at the moment I can see there are 49 participants, which is great because an odd number is better for this game. We will be playing as one. So the team is you, the audience. And we will play, if this is a demo because I haven't got much time, but we'll be playing 6 rounds. And even though the counter at the bottom will say 10 rounds, we're playing 6 rounds. And what I'll need you to do is to think about whether you think one value is higher than or lower than another value, and I'll explain that in more detail in a little bit. After each round, Kendall will launch a poll where you vote to whether you think the answer is higher or lower. We close that poll after a number of seconds, and then we show the result, and I will go with the majority view. So we'll do that for 6 rounds, and then we'll come to the end of the game and we'll see how the audience as a team, what the wisdom of the audience is, how many you got right. But what I also want you to do is to record your own score. I want to see how many of you out there are wiser than the collective intelligence of the audience. So do vote, but also keep your own score. Okay, so if I now share my screen with you all.
And Paula, I'm going to come back on camera to kind of help and hopefully launch some polls and kind of be there in the background while we play the game, hopefully. So let's do it.
Thank you. So the game. Behind these 2 cards are actions, and the theme I've chosen for us to play today is waste and recycling. Part of the reason I've chosen this theme is one of our hardest themes, so I really wanted to test you today. And basically it is behind each card there is a household or office waste material, and we all know that throwing things away or recycling things, there is a carbon emission burden to everything we throw away, and the relative amount of that burden depends on how we throw it away. So with landfill, a lot of the time there are carbon emissions associated with the degradation of that substance in landfill. Recycling, although much better than landfilling something or chucking something out into our kind of waterways, is recycling takes energy as well, so there's a carbon burden there, but there's usually a saving from not throwing something out and instead doing something environmentally beneficial with that item. So behind these cards are a number of household waste materials, and I will explain what is being done with each material, and you can read it as well, but I'll explain it. And then on the left hand side card, the carbon saving from doing this action is shown. The right hand card turns, there's another material that we commonly use and throw away, and that has a disposal option on it too. But the number below is hidden, and there are two buttons, higher and lower. And what I want you to do is decide whether the carbon saving on the right hand card is bigger than the carbon saving on the left hand card. If you think it's bigger, you vote for higher. If you think it's a lower figure, you vote for lower. Okay, it'll be clear when we play.
Paula, I was going to say, can I be very cheeky and should we start playing, because I want to make sure there's enough time for Joe and then Q&As at the end. So should we dive in?
Yeah, we dive in.
Thanks.
Okay, so first round, you are comparing green waste such as grass and plant cuttings with leaky loos, with the water, wastewater. So if you landfill peat, if you landfill green waste, it will produce greenhouse gases because it decomposes quickly. If you compost it instead, you will create a rich compost that you can use in the garden. And there's a carbon saving for composting versus landfilling, which is about 200 kilos per tonne of green waste created. So you're comparing that with a leaky loo. So this is a completely different kind of waste. It's water. So we all know that clean treated water has a carbon footprint because it takes energy to clean it and transport it. And if you've got a loo that is leaking, you can lose thousands of litres of water a year. So this saving is fixing one leaky loo, so you're saving all of that water, and it's an annual carbon saving from fixing a leaky loo. So how much water and hence how much carbon would be saved by fixing it over a year? Do you think that number is higher than 206 or lower? Now you can vote now, and I think Kendall's going to give us about 10 seconds.
Yeah, because we're on tight for time, I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I'm going to give you 15 for this first one. But then from here on in, we'll do 10 to keep things speedy. All right, I'm going to end the polling and share the results. So we had 59% higher and 41% lower, so higher.
Higher has it. So could you lose the poll from my,
Yep, that should hopefully have gone.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so we're going higher. So
that makes me feel better because I got it wrong the first time as well.
So yes, there's a carbon impact to water, but the carbon impact of green waste and grass and plants and things like that is higher. So next round is easier because leaky loos goes to the left hand side. So you're comparing water and wasted water, the carbon in wasted water, with books, so paper and card. So books, if binned, will rot again in landfill to produce methane. So don't bin your books, donate them to charities and other people so they can read them too. So this is the carbon saving from 1 tonne of books diverted from landfill through reuse. So what do we think?
Launch the poll.
Higher or lower?
So everyone's going higher. Also, Paula, just because of time, I think we might have to cut after 3 questions. So if the next question's our last one, I think just to make sure we've got time for Joe and questions.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So we're going higher with that one.
Yeah.
So that was unanimous. That was an easier one for you because, of course, you're getting the hang of it because carbon was lower. So amazing. Books goes to the left, and now we are looking at books versus cartons. Now, cartons are mainly made of Tetra Pak, which is a composite material of plastic, paper, card, and print. So they can be landfilled, but we need to know, but it's a process that takes, there's only 2 places in the country that it can be done at. So what I want to know is the carbon saving from recycling cartons higher or lower than books?
So we've got overwhelmingly.
It's moving. Okay, when are you going to end?
There we go.
Hello. Lower, we're going to go lower. So I'll just get rid of that from my screen and we'll go lower. And well done. Well done.
Yeah.
So the net carbon impact is much lower than for books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
so
I feel like I've hijacked the. We basically had planned to have 6 questions, but I think we might have to call it there. But what we could do, Paula, is we could share the last poll and just see how everybody did, or because I know that we were going to see how everybody did on an individual score. So maybe out of 3, you could tell us what you scored on those out of those 3 questions. Sorry to cut the game short, but I wonder if everybody could tell us what you scored individually from those, and then Paula, you can maybe announce the results.
okay. So we have half of you got 2 right. A third of you got all 3 right. Well done. And then 16% of you got 1 right. And somebody have said they've got all 6 right, which is amazing, given that we only had time for 3. But thank you for playing. I hope you got the gist of the game, at least out of what we did, and how it can be useful to getting a lot of information and data through to people in a fun, competitive way.
Paula, thank you so much. I love the game so much, and I would say that anybody that didn't get a chance, I know we didn't get a chance to play all 6 rounds, but you should go online and play all 10 rounds because it is loads and loads of fun. Thank you so much, Paula. I'm going to hand over and bring Jo in now to tell us. I'm going to try and switch to my screen share and introduce Jo from Incubeta, who's going to talk us through some of the amazing work they've been doing to get employees engaged at Incubeta. Jo, are you there?
I am indeed, yes.
Amazing.
It says I can't start my video, but that's fine. I'm on.
It's all right. I can sort your video, and then in the meantime,
Yeah.
you just tell me which slides and when you want me to pop on with your slides, and I'll hit them next.
Sure.
Thanks, Jo.
Brilliant. Thanks, Paula, as well. I can't believe that people throw books away in the bin. That's incredible. Why would people do that? But anyway, if we could go to my first slide, Kendall, please. So just to introduce myself again, I'm Jo. I'm from Incubeta. We are a digital marketing and technology agency based in London. We are around 400 people globally, and we're about 150 in the UK, based in Old Street in the Bower Building. We've been there about a year. So yeah, that's us. So I'm going to talk to you a bit today about our sustainability journey, 365 days sustainable. Some of how we got that up off the ground, how we've driven employee engagement, and how we've really kind of helped drive change within the business and within the organisation. So if we could go to the first slide, please. So yeah, just taking a bit of a backward flashback to July 2019. It all really started in our old office based in Farringdon. We were crammed into a very, very small kitchen. We were overflowing with people. We'd outgrown the office. and we were introduced to a gentleman called Dave Carlos from the Planet Mark, who was delivering an amazing and compelling presentation about the need for organisations to embrace sustainability, and how we could really get that up off the ground as an organisation, and some of the things that we could be doing, and the need for sustainability within the business. This was really driven by a chap in our business called Mark, who heads up the talent team. And it coincided with we were running a plastic-free week, where we were just trying to reduce the amount of disposable single-use plastics within the business. And it was a really, really fantastic initiative on that week to have Dave there and have the plastic-free week initiative running at the same time. At Incubeta, we have a wide range of committees, from mental well-being and charity committees to diversity and inclusion. And there was such a good reception in the office to the plastic-free week that a group of us within the organisation decided to form what is now known as the Sustainability Committee. And that committee is made up of around 6 to 7 individuals within the business, and they're all from different areas of the organisation, all from different levels within the business. So from myself being in the director leadership team, all the way down to graduates. So we have a voice and diverse range of opinions and perspectives within the organisation that are able to voice their concerns and ideas within that committee. In order to do this, to kind of get the committee up off the ground, we sent a proposal to the senior leadership team, which I was part of. So we had a stake there to really help drive that through. But I think what really importantly, one of the things we did initially in getting this up off the ground was to run a survey within the organisation to really see how people felt about sustainability, and if the Incubeta as an organisation was doing enough. And lo and behold, the survey results were really kind of polarised. 60% of the UK staff felt that Incubeta, we weren't doing enough as an organisation, and 43% of the office believed that it was really time for us to start taking responsibility as a business. Prior to this, there was no policy, no sustainability initiatives other than what individuals wanted to do themselves. So it was really, really ripe for getting this up off the ground and capitalising on this internal feeling. We already had a majority of staff as well asking us for these changes. So the team were personally invested in a more sustainable lifestyle. So the employee engagement that has followed has been a real godsend because of that initial buy-in. If you could move to slide 2, please. So one of the first things that we really did, we got straight into making changes in the office that we felt would really benefit not only the environment but our staff directly. I think we were quite lucky in the timing of doing this as well, because it coincided with us moving to a new office. So we're talking earlier about behavioural change. And there was a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz within the business about moving from what had become an old rundown office and everybody squeezed into one space to a really new, updated, trendy, cool space in the Bower. So we were able to jump on that spirit and moving into a new place to start driving home some of these changes. And it was a key moment to kind of drive through some of those things that we thought that people would really want to see. So involved switching to plastic-free fruit providers. That meant all of our staff were able to get their hands on sustainable produce and reap the benefits. It meant that we came to the harder elements such as more complicated recycling system or bin gate as it was called. And that was actually a lot harder to drive change through because it was just an ingrained habit that we had one bin and everything went into that one bin. We put signs up, we did a lot to really kind of drive that through, but people could see that this is something that they wanted and was of benefit to them. And one of the kind of main ways that we got our staff to really physically and mentally engage with us was through an existing channel within the organisation that is called Lunch and Learn, and that's something where anybody within the business is able to use that time to talk to the wider organisation about something they're doing, an initiative and a client or whatever it may be. So we use this time to really communicate with the business and engage. And one of the ways that we did that is we gave some free vegetarian food to really get people there. There's nothing like a free lunch, and people could sit there and learn whilst they ate their lunch in the kitchen. And we could talk to them about our sustainability policy and our work with the Planet Mark and how they could get involved. And they also use our community wall, and we're encouraged to put post-it notes up and suggestions on our sustainable tree, and to just kind of really further encourage and engage them. Our ethos really is to create an environment where our staff would come to us with suggestions, and we have ongoing waiting list within the committee and the organisation for people to be part of that sustainability committee. We do rotate it to hear and allow other people to be involved, and it really just shows how lucky we are to have been able to get the staff to really be involved. If we could move to slide 3, please. So things are going really well, and we've got what we think is a great level of engagement and some really great initiatives. And then something comes along called the COVID-19 pandemic, and really changes how we've been working, how we've been engaging, how we've been communicating with everyone within the organisation. We discovered that working from home meant our staff were now having to rely on their own individual inputs as opposed to what the business and organisation had put in place, and really getting them to think about the choices rather than having them provided for them in the office. So we felt that we needed to, and there was a demand for support to really kind of help people think about how they could be sustainable at home. So we downloaded the Planet Mark Working from Home workbook and sent it out to our staff as a resource to help them be sustainable at home. The sustainability team themselves went virtual with our Planet Mark Kickstarter workshop, happening from the comfort of our own homes and gardens. I wasn't actually able to make it, unfortunately, but the feedback was great, and the engagement from the staff has been fantastic. And I think one of the best things that we've done as an organisation, and again we were quite lucky as a business, is that around the time of the launch of the pandemic, is we were launching a new piece of technology called Slack, and that really has allowed us to continue to talk and communicate with the business. Some of you may know Slack, some of you that aren't familiar with it. Essentially, it's an instant messaging service that you can create channels, and it's really easy for people to communicate on that channel. So we set up the sustainability committee channel, and we also set up a number of other channels around initiatives that we were doing, encouraging people to upload content, ask us questions, submit ideas, and that's been an amazing way for us to continue engaging with our organisation, really understanding what their needs are, what they're doing. So we're running now a plastic-free month, and we've set that channel up where the guys can upload pictures of the proactive things that they are doing to reduce their plastic usage at home. People can comment on it, share ideas, and that's been really a positive addition to really continuing engagement within the organisation. So if we could move to slide 4, thank you. So this is just a little timeline really of some of the things that and the journey that we've been on as an organisation. So first really engaging with the Planet Mark and helping us really understand the type of policy and what we need to put in place as an organisation, getting the committee up off the ground, having some changes about looking at our providers, getting the recycling system in place, new fruit suppliers, rolling out lunch and learn, really just kind of our journey and then the pandemic and to where we are now, which really is becoming Planet Mark certified as an organisation and really making sure that we reduce our carbon footprint. So final slide, please. So I'm really and this is a little picture of the team who are on the committee. There's one missing there, Andrew, but that's the committee. I'm really pleased to kind of say that we've recently re-polled everybody within the organisation, and now that's 64% of our staff saying that Incubeta are now doing enough to be sustainable. Obviously, there's room for improvement, but it's a significant swing from where we were, around 60% of people saying that they felt we weren't doing enough as a brand. So it's been a truly whirlwind of a year for us in our office and the amount of change. We've created hopefully meaningful experiences for our employees, which have led them to engage and be open to change. Not only is this showing we've managed to turn our company's perception of how we approach sustainability, but hopefully it illustrates that we've been able to engage our staff effectively, and hopefully some ideas and inspiration for you and your organisations as to how you can go about engaging with your employees.
Joe, thank you so much. Amazing recommendations, ideas, inspiration, and I don't know if you can see, but we've had loads of questions come through in the Q&A for you, which is really exciting. Yeah, so thanks so much. We were set to have a live Q&A with everybody now, but we have been answering, because we're a bit tight on time, we've been answering some of these in the questions. So Hermione and Paula have been furiously typing answers away, but I know we've got lots of questions for Joe as well. So we will include all of those in the follow-up email as well, and make sure that if you have asked a question in the Q&A chat, they do get answered in the follow-up email. So thank you so much everybody for posting in there as well. I'm sorry that we don't have time today to do those live. Just to wrap up on a few short points. So our strapline to Planet Mark is you have the power to make a world of difference, and we truly believe that. And we hope that today, through Joe's amazing case study and Hermione and Paula talking about their work, we've given you some food for thought and some exciting ideas and inspiration for what you can go away and do in your organisations. But as I said, we'll follow up with some more information in the follow-up email as well. In terms of next steps, I've mentioned that follow-up email a few times, but you'll get the slide deck there, the webinar recording, and you can comment and follow us on Twitter. Ask us questions, send us questions, and we can hopefully give you all the information that you need there. And just a final note from us, we want to say a massive thank you to all three of our speakers, Hermione, Paula and Joe, and we'll send out any slides and recording afterwards, and really look forward to seeing everybody in 2 weeks' time at the next webinar on the 29th of July. So thanks again for everybody who joined, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks everyone.